Resistance at 69K remains tough amidst election FUD. Indicators lending some insight to Bitcoin volatility this week. That should not be a surprise to you. Hey guys, it's Keith Allen. Hope you had a good weekend. Things are getting spicy and probably going to continue to be spicy for several days now. We are, tomorrow is election day, and don't expect the anxiety, the FUD, the stress, any of it to go away tomorrow. It's going to be a couple of days until we have results, and it's going to potentially be months until we have really all of this chaos behind us, because I think the world knows what's coming. Without trying to get too political into this stream, we are going to talk about price action for Bitcoin. We've got some telltale signs about volatility in fire charts, and we've got some telltale signs about the local trend with trend precognition. As always, before we start, just want to give you guys a heads up. Live chat is open. If you'd like to chime in, you got a question, you got a comment, you got insight you want to share, I'd love to hear from you. Also, of course, if you're new to the stream, or if you're old to the stream and you haven't done so yet, be sure and smash all the buttons. Especially make sure that you hit the subscribe bell if you're watching on YouTube. And you help me out by sharing this with somebody. In fact, I'm going to give you a second to do, or a few seconds to do two things. One, to do all the liking and sharing and subscribing. It'd be great if you shared this stream with somebody in your network, in your group, because I think people will gain some insight out of this heading into a very volatile time. And number two, I'm going to let you guys decide where we start today. Do you want to start on fire charts so we can get a sense of volatility and where some of the directional liquidity is pointing? Or would you like to start with the indicators that also give us some insight into the direction things seem to be developing here this week? TikTok. I'll give you a couple seconds for that. In the meantime, hope you are having a number one, if you're an American citizen, I hope you're voting tomorrow, or have at least already voted, right? If you voted early, awesome. Appreciate you. If you haven't voted yet, please make sure that you vote. Every vote counts. And if you're contemplating not voting, don't do that. Don't do that. I mean, seriously, at this point, if you're undecided, you're living under a freaking rock. The candidates could not be more opposed in pretty much every aspect. So do what you think is right for the country, not what you think is right for your crypto holdings, because there's a lot more at stake here than just crypto. Yes, I'm a crypto guy. Yes, I want to see crypto thrive. But I will tell you, regardless of who wins this election, I do believe that we are going to have some volatility either way, right? And we're seeing that now, and I expect to continue. But I think that after the dust settles, and whether the dust settles after the votes are tallied and we have a winner is announced, which could be as early as Wednesday or Thursday, or if it takes until the certification on January 6th, or if it takes until inauguration on January 20th. I think we've got some spicy times ahead of us. But after the dust settles, I think as we get into 2025, Bitcoin is going to continue on whatever trajectory it is meant to be on here. And I think most of us who've been in this game for a while know what that is. Let's see. Crackdown. Not in the U.S., never voted, not worth it. Well, nobody not in the U.S. can vote, so that makes no sense. But hey, thanks for chiming in. So what is interesting though is there was a lot of speculation, huge speculation, especially in Polymarket, about who would win this election. And that seemed a little bit weighted. We found out, there's been stories. We already covered the fact that there's a French guy who put 30 million on red, and across 4 accounts, blah, 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 whatever. Doesn't really matter. It's a moot point. It has no bearing on the election. It was just, I think, used to, well, number one, that guy's a trader trying to make money. Number two, if there was any nefarious intention in that by maybe a proxy for Team Red, then, it was to create some perception so that they've got another weak argument to challenge on after the results are tabulated. So there's that. Let's go ahead and climb in, and we will start on fire charts today, so we can take a look at the volatility. I've been saying for a while we thought we would have volatility here, and that would happen. You know what? I'm going to start. Actually, I'm going to start on the candle chart, because we have a critical level that I've been talking about for months and months and months and months, since way back in March. I'm talking about that RS flip at 69K, which was invalidated again here this week, and we'll talk about that and where things could be going from here. So let's open up on the candle chart here on TradingView. Gosh, I love me some TradingView. So as you can see, we're looking at another rejection from 69K. I say another because not just have we had some drama here at this level here over the past 1, 2, 3, 4 days. We have a lot of history at that level, since obviously going back to the 2021 top here. That was, November 10th. 2021, excuse me. And, obviously it has been resistance since then. We're now looking at 3 years of resistance, but where it really is visible is if we look ever since we first engaged with it, or re-engaged with this level here back in March of this year. We've had numerous attempts. Yes, we did peak above it and create a new all-time high, but we've had numerous attempts to RS flip that level, and it just really has not panned out as of yet. You can see the wicks below that led to rejections, and I warned you guys all along, every single time we get near this level, we've got to see full candle bodies printing above it to by the way, guys, chime in if you're having trouble with the audio, because it doesn't sound great to me. We have seen a lot of interaction here with this level, and these wicks are just yes, there's bullishness that sends it up, but the wicks are signs to me that it's just not strong. It's not strong bullishness, and weak bulls, if you may. And we can see the number of times that price has rejected and broken down from there, and it looks like here we go again, right? Back in May again. And now July, same set of circumstances, rejection. And here we are now again, October, rejection. November, we get a brief fake out, I would say, a rally above, and we got 1, 2, 3 candles above it, but we had that big nasty trend precognition signal pointing down, and things began to erode from there. So our first wick was on Friday. That one was a bit concerning. We had a brief recovery, but then things came down again and again, right? So now not only have we lost that 69K, we've lost the 21-day moving average. Also not a good look. Not a good look for bulls, and not a good look for anybody who traded the poly market narrative. So moving deeper into that, let's go to the weekly chart, where we have a brand new signal coming up on the weekly chart, Bitcoin weekly chart, and we actually have confluent signals between both trend precognition algos, the A2 plus up here throwing the arrow, and the A1 algo down here throwing the red dot. Both of them mean the same thing, and that is price not likely to exceed last week's high, which would essentially mean an all-time high would invalidate this. Okay, so at the moment, things are breaking down. And like I said, if you're in on this game on the poly market narrative, and you think that we got this pump because of Trump's or even any of this from here, because that's where it all started, right? We started hearing on this chatter that all of this was because the odds were in Trump's favor. Um, I don't know that that's panning out for you right now. Does it have to do with perceived panic in the Trump campaign, uh, strength in the Harris campaign? Don't know. Not going to speculate on that, but let's just say I've got my ideas, but we're not going to go there in this stream. Um, let's just say this: if you are considering some pre-election de-risking, if you're considering taking profits because of a potential, and I say potential, increase in capital gains tax if Harris wins, mind you, those are proposals, and nothing, nothing goes into law without being voted on and signed into law after a vote in Congress, and then then a bill on the president's desk. So that has to happen. So again, if you're de-risking pre-election, if you are in the camp that you want to take some capital gains before a potential increase in those capital gains taxes, or if you're playing the poly market trade, this is a sign that things are going to break down further. And if you wanted to say, could we say, did trend precognition just predict the outcome of the U.S. election? Maybe. You can see that brings me a little joy. Sorry. So where could we go from here? That's really the question. Are we talking about a full breakdown? Potentially as far down as the 200-week moving average. Well, these are worst case scenarios. This is like, in my opinion, black swan kind of stuff that gets us down this low. For me, anything that remains above this trend line keeps the trend intact, and that's solid. But my next technical support areas, anyways, would be around this 2021 mid-cycle top, which is just sub 65K level, and then probably even more technical strength here at the 21-week moving average, which, as you can see, has been just steady as a rock here since back in late September, right? So that's one, two. Actually, we flipped it back in mid-September. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're now on our 8th weekly candle, so 2 months above this 21-week moving average. And you can also see we've had multiple retests of the 50-week moving average. 1, 2. We could call that one 3 if we want. 4 never really made it there. This is also very solid to me. That level is up around 60K. So we're basically between 60 and 65K. So on to the de-risking story. I guess this really depends on whether you're a trader or a long-term investor. Has the narrative really changed on the economy, on the market, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Maybe if you buy into all of the promises Trump has been making about what he would do with Bitcoin if he were elected, then again, if you weigh the value of those promises versus his history, well, you may take those promises with a grain of salt. I personally perceive them as hot air. So, whatever the case may be, I think the market, the crypto market, firmly believes that Trump would be better for Bitcoin, and then price would shoot up. I would say that in the short term, that's probably true, and I would also expect that if we had just a quick rip, then we could likely expect a equal and opposite reaction back to the downside, and that a really fast move in either direction is likely to retrace. Likewise, if Harris wins, market perception is going to be negative for Bitcoin price action, Trend precognition seems to think so too. And how low do we go? If it's a nasty, do you want to, do you want to play some stink bids down here just in case? Might not be a bad idea if you have the liquidity available. I personally um, keep some dry powder on reserves for such an occasion. And yes, I do have bids here uh, and down in this range just because you never know, right? If it's happening, it's going to happen before you know it. So that's a potential opportunity. But if you believe in the long term value of Bitcoin, if you believe that Bitcoin is going to likely be a six-figure asset by the end of this cycle, and potentially a much larger six or potentially even seven-figure asset years down the road, then why would you give up your Bitcoin? So that's trader or investor mindset, I think, is what it really comes down to. So now let's take a look over at fire charts and see where the liquidity is and how that may give us some insight into where price is going from here. As you can see, we have some uh, thin liquidity to the upside, not a ton to the downside, and um, some gaps in between. These darker, if you're new to fire charts, this is a liquidity map of the spot order book, um, and down here is our CVD, and this is showing limit orders on the order book. Now I can increase the contrast here to help us see things a little bit better, and you can see that we do have a pretty good concentration of bids stacked above 65K. This would be that 2021 mid-cycle top that we discussed, right? That's basically right above this line here. And so that could potentially hold things and insulate the 21-week moving average, which would be still very strong in my opinion. Uh, Now we've broken through. I mean, gosh, seems like a week ago we ripped through a metric ton of ask liquidity. So there's no number on the chart that is safe in my opinion, right? There could be these could be 50 60 million, $100 million blocks of liquidity. Historically, that kind of thing usually acts as a good foundation on the bid side and good resistance on the ask side. However, bit of a wild card flowing our way this week with the election, in my opinion. So you really, I think, the same thing goes for the indicators and the technical levels. All of this stuff could get exploited this week, right? Wicks below will flush out weak hands. They will flush out algos, and so be prepared for that. Know what your invalidations are for the strategy that you're trading, and stick with that because you got to have something to hang on to here, right? Hang on to your conviction and know your invalidations. So what I'm concerned about in terms of the short term price action here is that we could see there's no doubt we could see a rip right back up here, but there's also no doubt that we could drop through this liquidity into this range, and if we drop below 65, there's not a ton to hold it. In fact, it'd be in my opinion, probably a pretty quick move down lower because you have these a couple of small blocks of bid liquidity at 64, at 63, at 62, etc. But these gaps in between are very easy for price to move through quickly. Kind of, think of it as I often say liquidity dampens volatility and thin liquidity amplifies it. So price can move fast through the dark zones. It has to grind a bit slower through the brighter zones. Simple as that. And as you can see, whales here, kind of a mixed bag this week. Maybe more trading than a long-term stance. Buying dips, selling rips, that kind of thing. Mega whales came in yesterday, bought a little bit. As you can see, there's an easy move back to 70K or even higher, and I would probably expect to see some profit taking if we get back up there. So I don't think we have a real, whatever happens here in the coming days, I think that we're just going to see this continued volatility, and we could range here. If we ranged between even 74K and 65K, that's a broader range than I normally like. At least in terms of calling it a consolidation range. I like that more compressed, in a $3,000 to $6,000 range for Bitcoin. But you know, like I said, this election is throwing lots of wild cards our way. So don't be surprised if we run this range and round trip it before it's all said and done. There's going to be news coming out of both camps, positive and negative, and I think this is a good time if you're a trader to take advantage of the opportunities as they present themselves. And as you can see, just based on volume here in the and the liquidity dynamic, it looks like we could see it move back up at least to 70, if not higher, sometime between now and tomorrow night. But if you're an investor, I would, this is also a good time to sit on your hands and just watch things develop, right? So don't feel like you need to get into the fray. It's a risky trade either way, because I do think there's a potential for it to retrace. Now, on the downside, if you're looking to add to your position, I would not go chasing price, right? I would establish what you think is a good price to add to your position at, and go with that and stick with it. Have some either have some conviction or sit on your hands for a couple of days and watch things develop. That's probably the safest move, any way you slice it. Hope that gives you guys some insight. I got one more little treat I'm going to share with you guys. Going to make a rare glimpse and take you into some of the other market metrics we have in the MI dashboard here, and one that I really like to check out from time to time is the correlation between alts and Bitcoin, and what that is showing me, or showing us, I should say, is that we are once again kind of peeking into a developing capitulation, right? You can see price coming down, so we could go lower from here, and that's something I'm mindful of. But this is kind of an at or near bottom. So if it's at or near, this right here is an at or near bottom signal. So if this is an at or near bottom signal, where could it be? The confluence for me lines up between the really anywhere between this 21-week moving average and mid-cycle top, kind of that 63 to 65K range, and with a potential overshoot down to this 60K range, and which is the 50-week moving average. And as we look at it in terms of liquidity, we'll go back to fire charts and see that we have our strongest concentrations of bid liquidity are indeed stacked right here in this range, 65, 66K. It's laddered up really from 65K up. 65 to 67 is where the deepest concentration of liquidity is sitting. You can see we've got about 20 million, another 13, another 30, another 15, another 36. So there's a decent amount of bid liquidity here to potentially keep price up, as long as we don't get a rug pull out of this when it's all said and done. Maybe we'll see more guardrails come in between now and election results to keep price elevated. So that's something to be watching for in the order book as well. And if I see it, I promise you, I will give you guys a heads up and keep you updated.